Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Catalina Gillies.
And I'm Ryan Bonazzo. The shakeup of the senior leadership team continues at the Thunder Bay Regional Hospital and its research institute.
CEO Rhonda Crocker-Ellicott is eliminating 2 executive vice president positions and the chief of staff has been replaced. Crocker-Ellicott took over the top job in November of 2020. Since then, a number of senior hospital officials have either resigned or been relieved of their positions. Dr. Stuart Kennedy was replaced in March by Dr. Peter Voros as COVID-19 incident manager. And now Voros is out both as COVID manager and executive vice president of patient and cancer services. An internal memo obtained by Dougal Media indicates the hospital is also parting ways with Kelly Meservia Collins, the executive vice president of research, quality, and academics. And former chief of staff Dr. Zaki Ahmed has been replaced by Dr. Bradley Jacobson. Hospital officials say they need to change some positions and skill sets as part of a new strategic plan. The reorganization is intended to create a smaller, more focused senior leadership team with budget savings going towards frontline services.
It's deadline day for unvaccinated employees in Ontario's long-term care homes. Workers must now have at least their first COVID-19 vaccine shot to go into work. The vast majority of care providers in Thunder Bay have gotten the jab, but the few who haven't received the shot risk their jobs and possibly a staffing crisis in their workplace. Alex Flood has the details.
The day for proof of first dose vaccinations has arrived for long-term care workers. Andy Savella, the director of healthcare with Unifor, says a number of long-term care employers in Thunder Bay are now dealing with staffing issues, as some employees remain reluctant to get the jab. Savella shared the number of partially vaccinated workers at the local homes represented by Unifor is below Ontario's average of 98%. St. Joseph's Care Group, which runs Hogarth Riverview Manor, is reporting that 97% of their staff have received at least 1 dose. Savella notes the local data for each long-term care home in Thunder Bay is difficult to collect at this stage, but an updated report on the vaccination numbers will soon be available.
Well, the one thing that today will tell is how many people kind of decided sort of recently to get vaccinated, at least their first vaccine. And, we're not sure or clear on how many people have advised the employer of that. I think it's going to come down today and people, having to show proof of vaccination before we really know what the numbers are in terms of, the staffing that'll be disallowed from going into the workplace.
Savella says concern surrounding an already existing long-term care shortage is alarming, but he remains hopeful those workers without a shot will get their first dose today.
As a union, we had a number of sessions with professionals like Dr. Tara Moriarty, who headed a team of people very well versed on the vaccine, and an open spot where people could attend a session, ask questions, hear the information, and I hope you'll alleviate some of their fears in terms of getting the vaccine.
The deadline for long-term care workers to be fully vaccinated is set for December 13th. Alex Flood, TBT News.
Long-term care is the only healthcare sector in Ontario with a mandatory vaccination policy for employees. The Ford government is facing criticism for that, and critics say workers who oppose the shot can simply jump to other healthcare professions. Colin DeMello has more on the situation.
Deadline day for long-term care. Staff who do not have their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine will no longer be allowed to enter nursing homes in this province.
What we've seen is a number of people getting vaccinated, and that's good news. So I really want to thank all the staff who have taken the time to get that vaccination and help protect our residents.
The mandatory vaccination policies are intended to clamp down on outbreaks by ensuring those working with the most vulnerable are fully vaccinated. On a macro scale, the deadline has made an impact. 98% of workers have 1 dose of the vaccine, while 95% are fully vaccinated. That's up significantly from a month ago. But hundreds of long-term care homes are now potentially facing a staffing shortage. As of last Friday, 325 long-term care homes in Ontario had unvaccinated staff members, while 17 homes had first dose vaccination rates of of below 90%.
We're working with a handful of homes, primarily in some rural areas where there are staffing issues in general. And that's one of the reasons that we have our program to bring so many more PSWs. We're training 16,000 of them and more nurses on. But we're working with those individual homes now.
Advocates say those healthcare workers might be finding work elsewhere.
What we see here is that our long-term care home workers who do not want to get vaccinated simply slide over to other types of healthcare, like going to hospitals and other acute care centers. That's really a problem.
Time for oral questions.
At Queen's Park, the government is under fire for not making vaccinations mandatory for all healthcare workers.
Long-term care residents and staff are safer because of that mandate. Newborns in hospitals should be safe too, Speaker. How can the Premier ignore the best scientific advice for a mandatory vaccine policy and leave patients, students, and staff at hospitals and schools at risk?
We're going to continue making sure we encourage people, all frontline healthcare workers, to get vaccinated. We're going to make sure all education workers get vaccinated. We're out there every single day promoting it.
The Minister of Health says Ontario still has thousands of backlogged surgeries and procedures to get through, which is why they don't want to implement a mandatory vaccination policy in hospitals so as to not risk patient care. At Queen's Park, Colin DeMello, CTV News.
There's some good news on the regional COVID-19 front. The number of active cases in the Thunder Bay District has dropped over the weekend. 3 COVID patients have also been released from hospital, leaving just 1 hospitalization and 0 ICU cases at this time. The health unit is reporting 2 new infections. Both exposure sources are unknown right now. There are now 18 active cases across the district. That's down from 22 on Friday. The health unit is also celebrating a vaccination milestone, noting today on social media that 90% of eligible residents in the district are now fully vaccinated, according to the Ministry of Health data. 94% have received at least 1 shot. Meanwhile, the Northwestern Health Unit is reporting 1 new case over the weekend in the Rainy River District. That case, however, is already considered to be resolved. There are 2 active cases across the NWHU, down from 4 on Friday.
A Thunder Bay woman has been sentenced to 8 years in jail for her role in the brutal beating death of another woman in October of 2018. The victim, 25-year-old Ashley McKay, had been consuming drugs and alcohol with 3 other people at an apartment complex on Cumming Street when one of them accused her of spreading gossip. McKay eventually suffered 85 blunt force injuries, and she was left naked in a storage bin in a closet until she died. 40-year-old Marlene Quandabins was initially charged with second-degree murder, but pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter in April. With credit for time already served, Quandabins will spend another 3.5 years behind bars. Another suspect, 24-year-old Terrell Michon, will be sentenced for her manslaughter conviction tomorrow. The third accused, 27-year-old Darren Umbash, will be back in court later this month. The designated truck route issue is making its return to Thunder Bay City Hall tonight. At-large Councillor Trevor Gertuga is asking city staff to bring a new bylaw as soon as possible, after the last 2 were defeated on closed votes. Gertuga will speak about his frustration with council over the continued lack of action on the issue. He wants the truck route to move ahead as a way to eliminate big trucks on Dawson Road. The DTR has been approved in principle, but the bylaw to implement it has yet to receive a majority vote. Gertuga believes councillors want to push the decision to the next term of council.
Them is that when it came to council, people have just turned down the bylaw. They haven't brought any recommendations or suggestions. So that just proves to me that they're not looking at any kind of bylaw. They're just waiting till the next term of council, I think. And that's not how we should do things.
The city will also sign off on a letter to Ontario's health minister. It outlines the need for mental health and addiction center, as well as a submission relating to addiction crisis beds. And the Lakehead Social Planning Council will present their yearly report on poverty reduction to the city.
When concert goers return to the Thunder Bay Community Auditorium in the new year, they'll trade in their hard copy tickets for digital ones. That's because the Auditorium has switched its seat sales to Ticketmaster. Auditorium GM Bob Halverson says the decision to move on from the previous ticket provider, Audience View, came down to 3 factors. Ticketmaster offered a better platform at a lower cost, top-of-the-line technology, and contactless ticketing abilities, which has become important during the pandemic. For those who may be concerned, the change will increase ticket fees. Halverson says there will be no extra charge.
I can tell you that the same service charges that are applying to Ticketmaster have applied to your tickets for all your purchases over the last 10 to 15 years. So there's no difference, just a nominal increase that we would have every year, but they are exactly the same number, same amount that we had since, like I say, 15 years ago.
All the shows for the balance of this year have been pushed into 2022, with the Auditorium planning to reopen its doors when the Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra takes the stage on January 13th.
Lakehead University has decided to spread the wealth after receiving a donation of over 5 million disinfecting wipes from Lysol. LU is now providing hundreds of thousands of wipes to Confederation College, the United Way, and other organizations across the north. Lakehead received the shipment of 84 skids of cleaning products at the end of October, worth approximately $376,000. The school immediately began finding the best way to put them to use throughout the community. Aside from using the products in the university's high-traffic areas, 10 skids will go to Confederation College, and the United Way will be distributing wipes to its partners throughout the region. Officials say they're thrilled to be able to provide these cleaning products.
A gift like this with them is something that the university, being a larger charitable organization, can help to facilitate.
We're very grateful to Lakehead University, inviting us to partner with them in helping promote the availability of these wipes to our community partners and make sure they get into the hands of people that can put them to good use.
We're excited to use the products to keep our campus locally and across the region safe and healthy for all of our students and staff.
As of today, more than 45 organizations will benefit from the Lysol donation.
International Education Week is observed in more than 100 nations around the world, and Lakehead University kicked off its festivities today with a creative writing competition for students from other countries. Canada Through My Eyes is the first event of International Education Week at LU, where students can describe their experiences coming to Canada through poetry, creative writing, or essays. International Student Advisor Lori Puttis says events like this are key to diversifying the university as well as Thunder Bay as a whole.
We want to highlight and celebrate all the cultural diversity among our international student population. So events like this are just a way where we can celebrate students and have them share their voices and perspectives and engage not only the university community but the general community to attend and participate as well.
The university will run a number of other events throughout the week, both in person and virtually on Zoom. Students and members of the public are encouraged to attend. The full event schedule is available on the LU website.
The Trees of Hope were lit up last night outside the Thunder Bay Police Headquarters. The ceremony was a big success once again, as 4 large trees were illuminated to highlight a pair of important causes. Mitchell Ringos has the details.
The ceremony was the 3rd time the police service has set up a tree in honor of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. This year, all 3 trees were set up, with the newest addition adding 1,000 red Christmas lights. Along with the 3 decorated trees, there was a new addition of a smaller tree that was covered in orange lights for the Every Child Matters campaign, which honors the first 215 remains discovered. This year's ceremony hosted a variety of speakers, live drumming, a sacred fire, and last but not least, the all-awaited lighting of the trees. The Tree of Hope project was created in 2019 by Thunder Bay Police Service Constable Charlene Bordeaux, who spoke about what it means for 6 other police services to have their own tree lighting ceremonies this year as well.
This is a community-driven event. It's more about the community. It's not about me. It's supported by the police service, and I was just overjoyed to hear other police services accept that challenge.
Bordeaux says the Police Association was fully on board with the idea back in 2019, which the Thunder Bay Police Association president, Colin Woods, says is even more important to continue to support the movement to this day. especially here in Thunder Bay.
We are, a hub for the First Nations communities in Northwestern Ontario. And if this city and this service can start a project like this to build the relationship even stronger, it's important, and it's that much more important that it continues to.
Also speaking at this event was newly appointed Minister of Indigenous Services, Patty Haidu, who was very emotional after being given a medallion to show a trust in the partnership with the police force and the Indigenous community.
This is a really important step in that process of gaining trust, and it's part of the journey that the Thunder Bay Police Service has been on. But to invite community in and to light up a tree that symbolizes, the number of missing and murdered girls and women across the country, to pledge in their own actions that they're going to do more for the Indigenous community, more for building trust, more for women and girls in particular, that's very powerful.
And with it being such an emotional night for everyone who attended, both Bordeaux and Haidu spoke about trying to get the tree lighting all the way to Parliament Hill in Ottawa for next year. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Delico Anishinaabeg Family Care is hoping to make the wishes of more than 700 children come true this holiday season as the organization launches its 13th annual Christmas Wish campaign. The initiative is known for its bright red bags that are gifted to kids in need during the holidays. Each wish bag is filled with toys, books, warm clothing, and other essential items based on the profile of the child receiving the bags. New this year is the option to buy a teddy bear to add to the wish bag or buy a bear on its own to support the cause. Event organizer John Dixon shares the importance of the campaign during an already difficult time for so many.
It's a tough time of year for a lot of people, and I think every child needs to wake up in the morning and have some hope and some comfort in the morning and presents and gifts, and to know that they're a part of that same holiday as everybody else. This year it's a particularly tough time with the lockdowns and the COVID and people not having those regular connections that they were used to, and it's nice to make sure that we're able to kind of fulfill that void where it exists.
The red gift bags can be picked up at Delico's Heath Park site, as well as its Fort William First Nation office on Anemke Place. The deadline to register for a Christmas wish bag is December 5th.
The Tim Hortons Smile Cookie campaign set a new record this year in Thunder Bay as far as cookies sold and money raised for local children's charities. The local Tim Hortons restaurants collectively raised a record $80,350 through Smile Cookie sales. The money was split 50-50 between the George Jeffrey Foundation to pay for specialized children's care and the professional firefighters' Toys for Tots campaign. Toys for Tots chair Paul Penna says in a year where kids need the most help, the record amount of money was an incredible gift.
The need in the community is that much greater with what the world's going through with COVID, and it's affected so many families in a negative way. And so the Smile Cookie campaign is immensely huge.
Being local, you want to support your local community. So, I applaud Tim Hortons Canada. This is actually a national campaign, but to put the money back right in our community and for our kids, that's the best.
The Smile Cookie program is just one of those programs that have just taken off nationally. It's unbelievable how the community comes together to purchase the cookies, and also how we have so many great volunteers that come out to decorate to make the program such a huge success.
Great to see that fundraiser was such a